What's up YouTube? This is Demonic Midwinter making another video. This video is going to be my top 25 albums of 2020. So, we all know that 2020 was a shit year, no concerts and whatever, but there was a shit ton of great metal that came out. So I'm going to go through my top 25. So first, the number 25 is Dark Rites with the Dark Hymns. They're an international death metal band. I think their members are based in Sweden, Poland, and America. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know. I don't remember exactly. I don't have a copy of this CD. I never picked one up off their Bandcamp, but I will soon, for sure. My favorite tracks are Serena and The Devil's Heroes. Next up is the new live album from the German power metal band, Blind Guardian, with Imaginations from the Other Side. If you don't know who Blind Guardian is, you're living under a rock, basically. And you need to check them out right away. My favorite tracks were Imaginations from the Other Side and The Story Ends. Next up was a local band, actually, at number 23, Winter Nights, with their self-titled EP, Winter Nights. They're a melodic death metal band from here in New York. I'm also pretty good friends with them, but that didn't have any impact on them making it into this list. My favorite tracks were When December Burns and Encounters. Check them out if you've never heard of them. They are one of my favorite death metal bands out there right now. Next up, we have the California death metal band Skeletal Remains with The Entombment of Chaos. I don't have much to say about this one. I listened to it once or twice, enjoyed it enough to put it on the list. My favorite tracks are Tombs of Chaos and Ecstasy. Next up, we got another California death metal band with Necrotic and their new album, Mortal. I don't know what happened to the jewel case on this thing, but whatever. They're, like I said, a death metal band from California. My favorite tracks would be Malevolent Intentions and Mortal, the title track. Next up, we have a German thrash band with Surgical Strike. I'm going to say this multiple times, the thrash metal this year last year I should say, was some of the best it's been in a long time, in my opinion. This one, my favorite tracks from this album were Lambs to the Slaughter and Part of a Sick World, which is the title track, actually. Next up, we got another Friends band, actually, surprisingly, with Neverfall from Greenville, South Carolina, with Admit One. They are a thrash band again. My favorite tracks are Nailed Shut and Headhunter. Next up is a death metal band from currently in Pennsylvania, I believe. Next up is actually Primal Figure with Metal Commando. They are a power speed metal band from Germany. And my favorite tracks would be Raise Your Fists and Howl of the Banshee. I actually don't own a copy of this. I sold mine because I didn't love it I loved it as much as I actually do. I will be picking up a new copy at some point, though. Now we got the next band. Sorry about that. We got Incantation with Sex of Vile Divinities. This album was incredible. They're a death metal band from Pennsylvania, if you don't know. And my favorite tracks were Unborn Ambrosia and Siege Hive. Next up is the Canadian power metal band Unleash the Archers. With Abyss. Brittany Slay's vocals on this album were incredible. Oh my god. One of my favorite albums they've ever put out. My favorite tracks were Abyss and Faster Than Light. Next up, we got the UK thrash band Shrapnel with Palace for the Insane. My favorite tracks from this were Infernal Choir and Palace for the Insane. Next up, one of my favorite German bands ever, Sodom with Genesis 19. This album was amazing in every way. One of the best albums I've listened to in a long time, actually. It actually started off lower on my list than it ended up, but as I listened to it multiple times, I loved it even more. My favorite tracks would be Genesis 19 and The Harpooner. Next up is some blackened thrash from Scotland with hellripper, with The Affair of the Poisons. So I had never heard of these guys until I actually got a shirt from the company, the Metalhead box. When I got the shirt, I looked them up and I immediately fell in love with them. Easily one of my favorite albums of this year. My two favorite tracks would be Vampire's Grave, and my personal favorite is Blood Orgy of the She-Devils. Next up, we got the Swedish blackened death metal band Necrophobic with Dawn of the Damned. My favorite tracks are As the Fire Burns and the Return of a Lost Soul. Sorry, the jewel case is a bit messed up on here. I got to order a new one for it. Next up, we have another band I found out through the Metalhead box with Hazard and their new album Delirium. They're a Canadian band, thrash band, and my two favorite tracks from this insanely good album are A Tormented Reality and Illuminated Truth. I will happily go see. I would love to see those guys in concert one day. Same with almost every band on this list. Next up is one of the bands that actually got me into death metal. However many years ago that was, with Vader, Solitude and Madness. My two favorite tracks. And if you don't know who Vader is, you're living on a rock, and you need to check them the fuck out right away. My favorite tracks would be Dancing in the Slaughterhouse and Bones. Next up, something happened to this jewel case as well. Sorry, don't know what it was. This is Testament's Titans of Creation. If you don't know who Testament is, go check them out. You're living under a rock, and check them the fuck out right away. My two favorite songs off this album were Children of the Next Level and Night of the Witch. Next up, a band that I've loved for so long would be Sevetura, and their new album at number 8 is Quadra. They're, again, a band that you should know by now, a Brazilian thrash band. My two favorite tracks would be Guardians of Earth and The Pentagram. Next up, we have what came in a CD-DVD pack. The thing didn't fit on my CD rack, so I had to put them in this case, in these two jewel cases. But we got Hammerfall with Live Against the World. They're a Swedish power metal band. My two favorite tracks are Let the Hammer Fall and Hammer High. Hammer High might be one of my favorite tracks I've ever listened to, actually, ever, from any band. Next up is what I thought was actually going to end up being in my top 3 albums of the year, but it's actually at number 6. We got Onslaught with Generation Antichrist. I was actually wearing my Onslaught shirt earlier today, but which I got again through the Metalhead box. But they're a UK thrash band, and when I first started listening to them, I fell in love with them right away. My two favorite songs from the album are Strike Fast, Strike Hard, and Bow Down to the Clowns. Next up, we got another California thrash band with Warbringer, Weapons of Tomorrow. My two favorite. I love this album more. This is my favorite studio album of the year. The last 4 albums are live albums, actually. My two favorite tracks off this album are Firepower Kills and The Black Hand Reaches Out. Next up is Creator London Apocalypticon. They're again German thrash metal band, part of the Teutonic Big Four or Big Three, whatever it is. My two favorite tracks are People of the Lie and Fallen Brother. Next up is one of the bands that got me into metal, Iron Maiden, with their Night of the Dead Live in Mexico City album. My two favorite tracks from this incredible live album, which apparently got mixed reviews because of the mixing on it, I think it was. I loved it personally, but my two favorite tracks would be Aces High and Fear of the Dark. Next up is Metallica with S&M2. My dog, I think, got to this jewel case, or got to the digipack, whatever it was. So I had to put the CDs into two separate cases, sadly. But my two favorite tracks from the band that literally got me into metal were Master of Puppets and One, 100%. Two of my favorite versions of those two songs I've ever heard. And lastly, my second is the live album from my second favorite band ever, Destruction, with Born to Thrash live in Germany. I've loved Destruction since I started listening to them about a year and a half ago. I think it was something like that. But when I first heard them, I fell in love immediately. My two favorite tracks would be Born to Perish from their most recent studio album of the same name, and Bestial Invasion from my favorite album of theirs ever, Infernal Overkill. Those two songs, I don't know what it is about them, but they are just incredible. So that's it for my top 25 albums of the year. I know it included live albums and some EPs, but you know what? Whatever. In my list, shut the fuck up if you don't agree with it. Your choice. Whatever.